Please stand if you're able. I'm trying to be polite, understanding. It's my standard saying, too, though. So, good morning. Welcome. A stitch in time, and one of great honor. As a chaplain of this college, I see students every morning, going to class, looking forward to the day, engaging in many campus activities. And when I stand on the front steps of this historic chapel, watch them going in so many different directions, I think of where all these students will be going after their commencement ceremonies, to forge their histories from here on out, and how they would make an impact on the world, a world in the midst of great change and in need of them. Today, this 50th reunion is etched in gold, as they say about 50th milestones in life. However, this CC gold shines even brighter, for I could easily say how proud this college is to claim you as alumni. The class of 1968 graduated in a time of great change, and we have seen your impact on this nation from the time you graduated to this time together today in this chapel. 1968 was one of so many events, marked by many achievements and history etched into memory. Apollo 8, the Tet Offensive in South Vietnam, the Prague Spring, the protest at the Summer Olympics, and the assassinations of Robert F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King. It was a year that was one of transformation, but also uncertainty, a year which was a part of waiting for you to embark on your journeys, to become a part of this history, and to chart the paths into your futures with your unique contributions. Today, as we begin this 50th year reunion and induction ceremony, it is not only a ceremony, but a symbol of what you mean to this college, the nation, and the world. And looking toward a future of engaging with you in your shared love of Colorado College. It is also demonstrating how we can continue to build on the many strengths of this college because of your association with it, and cherishing the memories of fellow alumni who have departed and honoring their earthly journey with us. In the spirit of this gathering and this reunion, I want to acknowledge this great milestone. Your paths which have led you to this moment have been defined by greatness on so many levels. It is written in the book of Mark of the Bible, the voice of one calling out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, clear the paths ahead for our Lord. Your voices have been heard in making paths ahead of you and for others. It is an honor to be with you here this morning. Welcome home to CC, and congratulations on this very special moment.
Please be seated. Good morning. Class of 1968, welcome back to Colorado College. 50 years ago, you graduated from CC and went out into the world, making lives for yourselves that today are rich and varied. No matter where those years have taken you, you return to us today with knowledge gained from those 50 years of experience. We all have much to learn from you, and it's great fun to hear you reminisce about your years as a student and how your lives have unfolded. Your time spent at Colorado College reflected the best of optimism during some of the most challenging times in American history. Medical history was made with the first human heart transplant, the first ATM machine was unveiled, space exploration became part of the American experience with families gathered around their TV sets during the nightly news. The first Super Bowl between the Green Bay Packers and Kansas City Chiefs took place, setting a course for an annual day of overindulging in snacks and deliberating the year's best commercials. Our own Peggy Fleming won a gold medal during the 10th Winter Olympics, and Blue Key hosted the Doors at the Broadmoor during homecoming. Some of you were activists fighting for civil rights, protesting the Vietnam War, and you all gathered on campus for a symposium dedicated to the American presidency, hosting 5 days of speakers, dinners, and discussions. While we wish we could recreate homecoming with the doors for you, we do hope you have enjoyed an alternative experience, the fascinating and memory-inducing symposium devoted to the music and movements that defined the 1960s. This afternoon, several of you will share your experiences and insights during Tiger Talks at the Edith Kinney Gaylord Cornerstone Art Center, where themes of war and civil rights are interwoven into the fabric of your stories. And today and tomorrow, there's an art sale in Tutt Library of work of 2 of your classmates, Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer Dave Burnett and Southwest artist Darcy Peete. Proceeds from the sale will benefit the class of 1968 scholarship. I'm grateful that your talented class is sharing your time and energy to bring these wonderful events to CC and to support your significant class gift. I've also been learning about many of you through your biographies you submitted for the 50th Reunion Directory. You're remarkable individuals. Your accomplishments and stories are profound and meaningful as they are varied and eclectic. Members of the class of 1968 include park and recreation directors, travel agents, horticulturalists, and media personalities. You are jewelers, photographers, illustrators, journalists, and planning directors. You're lawyers, chemists, librarians, farmers, and educators. You've served as Peace Corps volunteers, Army intelligence officers, medical practitioners, insurance agents, and financiers. You founded companies and nonprofits. You run family businesses. You've served your country, often in times of conflict. You've received many awards and accolades for contributions to the wider world: the Clara Barton Award, the Kellogg Foundation Fellowship, Pikes Peak Arts Council Lifetime Achievement Award, and many, many others. You've lived and worked across the globe. You're a highly educated group. Many of you have earned graduate and professional degrees, and community and family matter to you, your parents and grandparents and leaders in your communities. With all these accomplishments, I found great inspiration in getting to know you. I hope you're enjoying this time together, reveling in each other's company and catching up on lives well lived. As in your own lives, a lot has happened at Colorado College since you graduated. As you look around campus this weekend, you'll see some new buildings and many that have changed. I hope you will explore the renovated Tutt Library, the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center at Colorado College, and our new East Campus housing. We have also just completed a renovation of our gem, Cutler Hall. CC's campus may have changed, but we're still a small liberal arts college in this beautiful spot at the foot of Pikes Peak. We still hold small classes taught by renowned faculty. CC faculty care deeply about teaching and developing thoughtful, creative individuals who, like you, forge their own paths and never stop learning. And we still value our place in the Rocky Mountain West. The spirit of adventure that defines this region will always be a part of Colorado College. Most importantly, the bond that today's students form with each other and their professors will endure for 50 years and beyond, just like yours. You're the embodiment of all that's good about CC liberal arts education, and you inspire us to keep doing what we do so well, educating students to live satisfying lives as change makers, leaders, and world citizens. One example, through your class gift, you've raised and continue to raise funds for the class of 1968 endowed scholarship, which will make a CC education accessible to more students with financial need. Thank you. Your class follows in the footsteps of several reunion classes that have made tremendous impact on the college through their generosity. Gifts from small to large add up, and together the past 3 reunion classes gave a total of nearly $21 million to the college. The class of 1968 has set a high standard for us and for our current students. I hope that you have the opportunity to talk with students and other alumni during this weekend to share your wisdom and experience. You were college students when our country was in turmoil and transition. Your ideas and actions changed the world, and we can learn a lot from you about vision, strength, and the power of shared values. Please wear the medallions you are about to receive proudly, so you will be recognized as our honored class, class of 1968. Congratulations on your 50th college reunion and induction into the 50-year club. The diploma that you received today is intended to be as meaningful as the first one. Welcome home.
Kathleen Garrett Canopy. Marilyn McTavish Andrews.
You're good.
Stephen Andrews. Todd H. Ballantyne. Virginia Crawford Barker. Douglas C. Bailey. Diane Brown Benninghoff. Kenneth R. Burlett. Lynn A. Bevington. Nicholas B. Binkley. Margaret Blacksmith. Robert R. Boggs. Karen Smith Brassart. David A. Burnett. Asahel Bush. Charles R. Buxton. Gary Siriani. Lance S. Clark. Lana G. Kaufman. Sharon Garland Coyle. Scott Crabtree. Kay Fields Chrisman. John S. Chrisman. Kenneth W. Cunningham. William S. Cunningham. Philip W. Davis. Jane Roundtree Dowding. Eldon E. Ellerton. Mary Ann Huey Farley. Alan J. Fisher. William E. Freericks. C.J. Friesman. Catherine Culbertson Fries. Patricia Turney Garris. Victoria R. Gitz. Roger T. Good. Diney Flesh Gumper. Douglas Hanna. Robert C. Herman. Robert A. Heister. Evelyn Gaskell Howard. William T. Howard. Thomas J. Hurley. Sonia Margolin Amashi. William E. James. Thomas A. Jeffrey. Dale E. Johnson. Leon A. Jonker. Kristen Keeler. Jamie Lytle King. Mary Schroeder Kitchen. Mary K. Knight. Kathy Kruznick. Patricia Garvin Lindner. David S. Madsen. Joan Bauer Malkerson. Warren G. Malkerson. Marianne Bornfeld Martin. Carolyn E. Matthews. Bruce R. McCaw. John W. McDonald. Suzanne Portram McDougall. Marjorie J. McKenna. Carolyn McPhee. Rebecca McSwain.
Actually, my first graduation. Oh, really? I'm so glad you're here.
Harry B. Mendenhall.
Hi, Barb.
Gail Michelle Mendra. Richard G. Mendra. David S. Meyer. Margaret Lust Miller. Eben S. Moulton. Jane Lynn Nelson. Wayne N. Nelson. John Nicolasi. Mildred M. Olson. Millie. Darcy Swenerton Pete. J. M. Payton. Cynthia Rossner Pillar. Susan Hadley Plank. Susan Bisbee Reed. Janet Ward Rainking. William G. Robertson. Hannah Palmer Rotman. Thomas H. Sass. Kent F. Schob. William B. Seal. Dwayne W. Sears.
Thank you very much.
Catherine White Seberg. Jeffrey Smith. Eve Tilly Chavez. D.R. Toth. Marilyn B. Turner. Peter M. Van Sant. James A. Waddell. Jackson H. Welch. David M. Williams. Cheryl Collier Willis. Nancy Corrigan Woodrow. George C. Woolley. Deborah Darrow LaBerge. Diane Roberts Shearer. Carol Neal James. Lee Murray. Jan Mahoney. And Douglas H. Brown. Congratulations to the class of 1968.
One more big round of applause and congratulations for the class of 1968. Doug Brown was a city attorney in Boulder and a Colorado State public defender. In 1976, he and his wife Alice Witter Brown moved to San Francisco, where Doug worked for Levi Strauss while earning his master's degree in taxation from Golden Gate University. He practiced law in Colorado Springs from 1978 to 1981. Along with their two daughters, Doug and Alice moved back to the Bay Area, where Doug worked for the Court Foundation. During a 25-year career with Morgan Stanley, Doug worked in New York and Florida. Doug and Alice now live in California, where Doug stumbled into a new passion: tutoring second graders and placing adult volunteer tutors in schools. In addition, for the past 4 years, he served on the board of the Buckaloo Programs, a behavioral health nonprofit. Please welcome your class speaker, Doug Brown.
Try and keep them in. Okay, thanks. Thank you very much. Before I begin my formal hour-and-a-half presentation, on a more serious note, a lot of our classmates have predeceased us. A lot of our classmates can't be here today because of health issues or family issues. So if we could take just a few minutes or a few moments, please, to silently remember them in our own way. Thank you. I'd also like to remind you that on Sunday morning there's going to be a more formal homecoming memorial gathering here in Shove at 10 o'clock. And to remind us, since we all can't remember what we were talking about just 2 minutes ago, after we leave here today, please walk around to that side of Shove for the class picture. And somebody will remind us as we're walking out. It was 50 years ago this past April that I last stood at this podium. I was one of many presenters at the annual convocation and award ceremony. My role was to introduce and induct the newest members of the Blue Key Society. Wanting to make my remarks memorable and uplifting, I headed over to KRCC in Rastall to seek the advice of Chief Tyree. Emphasizing the word up, he said, "You want to know the 3 keys to delivering an uplifting speech, Doug? Simple. Stand up, speak up, shut up." Many of you are asking, how did I do? Well, as I said, it's been 50 years since I've been asked to speak here at CC. Before I go any further, and while you're still awake, I would like to thank all the people that helped get all of us here in this wonderful homecoming event. For the past few days, we had the pre-symposium music symposium talking about the music of our years here at CC, and I had dedicated that to Fred Sonderman, who made a big difference in my life, and I'd just like to say that again. I'm going to read the names of everybody on the committee that helped make this event, and then when they're done, when I'm done reading that list, if they would stand up so we can all recognize them. Diane Brown Benninghoff, Kathy Culbertson-Fries, Cindy Rosner-Pillar, Vicki Gitz, Jack Berryhill, Kent Schob, who's been the co-chair and head of our fundraising efforts, Dave Meyer, Todd Ballantyne, Lana Kaufman, Sonia Margolin Imash, who gets my personal award for courage and admiration being here this weekend, Bill McDonald, Rich Mendrop, Nick Binkley, who gets special thanks for an incredible presentation last night, Bart Mendenhall, Ken Cunningham, Wink Davis, Dave Burnett, Darcy Pete, Joni Malkerson, and then personal thanks to Warren Malkerson for being the butt of more jokes than he's probably ever intended in my newsletters. So thank you, Warren. Oh, would you all stand? I told you we don't remember. Anybody who knows me knows that I can't do anything without telling a story, but I just had a flashback. It might have been a horrible memory. And I'm just forgetting a name. Who was introduced just before me? T. Mahoney's wife, Jan Metcalf, was standing there. The last time I followed her across a stage was homecoming of '67. She was a homecoming Queen candidate. She may have won. I was in Blue Key, and I was supposed to escort her across, and it was nothing more than a flatbed behind a trailer. I escorted her up, I dropped her off, I took a step back and fell off. So thank heavens that didn't happen here today, and Jan, I apologize again. Luckily, she was able to find somebody to marry. When I asked my daughters, Christine and Courtney, what I should talk about this morning, without missing a beat, they both said about 30 seconds. For those of you who may not have met them, they're seated in the back with my lovely wife. And Christine is the one who's holding a stopwatch, and Courtney's the one with a whistle. Thanks to the great support of Anita Parasal, Christy Damgard, and Lily Lauer of the Alumni Department, a simple idea that Diane Benninghoff and I had almost 5 years ago of the monthly newsletter expanded into the symposium idea and has become this great reunion weekend. Jill, the class of '68 reunion committee has voted unanimously that all three of them deserve significant pay raises. I've structured my remarks to cover the 4 goals which were at the bottom of every newsletter: remember, reflect, reconnect, and respond. Our attendance here today indicates that many of us have reconnected. Many of you have stayed connected to the college for all 50 years. As for remember, well, we all know the saying that if you remember the 60s, you weren't there. But we're all here because we do have such great memories. Having reread every page of every issue of the Tiger and every page and looked at every picture of the Nugget from August 1964 through May of 1968 helped refresh my recollection, and I've accumulated a couple of stories that I think bring back a lot of the best memories we had while we're here at CC. First is what I call I can't believe this actually happened, and or how I could not remember this. If this was a David Letterman top 10 list, this would be number 1. The only way to do Jad Ashfeld's incredible story justice is to read you verbatim as it appeared in the November 4th, 1966 Tiger. Quote, "What does a guy do after a relaxing Friday afternoon at the Kit Kat Club when he doesn't have a date for Friday night? A less imaginative CC male, so tragically deprived of the companionship of the CC lovelies, would indubitably continue relaxing. But Junior Jad Ashfeld had fancier schemes for relieving boredom. Finding himself in just such a situation last Friday, he accepted a $50 bet to hitchhike to Philadelphia and back in just 4 days, leaving at midnight that Friday night. He left with $1.30 in his pocket. Wearing his ROTC uniform, he went outside of town and headed east on Interstate 70. The trip took 38 hours there, and he came back in a record 36 hours. It still stands today as a record. The $1.30 that he had in his pocket was supplemented by a $1 contribution from a sympathetic policeman who paid for his food. People along the way, he said, were most helpful, but he was glad to be back at CC. This is one of my favorite, in terms of bad timing or I can't believe it was a crime, Pete Morris, sophomore year mooning, would top that list. Again, because you just can't make this stuff up. I quote from the September 17th, 1965 Tiger. Quote, "A CC student was dismissed from school last week for mooning from a car in downtown Colorado Springs. Unfortunately, among the alleged victims of this mooning were a policeman driving in one of their cars." End quote. Luckily, Pete came back. Today, mooning would probably fall somewhere between a fashion statement and a wardrobe malfunction. But 50 years ago, according to an editorial in the Tiger, I quote, Such behavior needed to be deterred if basic civil order and decency were to be maintained and preserved in and around Colorado Springs, end quote. This is one of my most favorite of all stories. At the other end of the spectrum, Dick Toth, Judge Dick Toth, Richard Toth, takes home the prize for best timing to prevent a really awkward moment in one's academic career. For those who may not remember, Dick's mother worked at CC and Dick lived at home. To paraphrase Dick's story, quote, "My first 2 years at CC were fun and exciting until I got my spring semester report card of sophomore year. I had a 1.5 GPA. I was told by Dean Mathias that unless I pulled my GPA up to 3.0, I would be in jeopardy of losing my scholarships. Plus, I was told that I had to meet with him at the halfway mark of the semester that fall, along with typed notes from all of my classes. I did not own a typewriter, and I did not know how to type. On the morning of October 8th, 1966, a day that will live in his infamy, the day of his appointment with Dean Mathias, Dick woke up at home. He was at the kitchen table with no typed notes. He did not know what he was going to say to Dean Mathias later that morning. His mother was reading the morning newspaper when suddenly she exclaimed, "Oh my God, Dean Mathias died last night." This is probably not the venue for telling a joke or a story like that, but all apologies, Dean Mathias. Anyway, Dick got a 2.93 that semester. He got a C in ROTC. Spit and polish wasn't his game, but he was eternally thankful for Dean Mathias. Perhaps the most important recognition goes to all the women in our class. And I call this the what do we want, clean sheets, when do we want them now recognition. That was the caption that I put beneath a photo of a real Equal Rights Amendment march in October 2016 at the bottom of my newsletter. That was the picture and the caption were at the bottom of the first page. It generated the most impassioned responses of any item in any of the 50 newsletters. Unfortunately, the photo and my rather irreverent comment about when do we want and what do we want sheets appeared at the bottom of the first page, but my explanation for what do we want clean sheets was at the top of the next page. Some people never made it to the top of the second page before they started texting me. After reading that paragraph and having not read what I thought was a funny explanation, several female classmates were upset at my flippancy. One of them wrote, what I had written on the top of the second page was, amazingly, within days of the Now Proclamation, Miss Evelyn McNary, Director of Residence Halls here at Colorado College, declared, and I quote, verbatim, mostly because, as I said before, you can't make this stuff up, quote, effective the beginning of the second semester, we will start supplying women with linen on the same basis as the men, end quote. She said that service could not start sooner due to a shortage of linen because of the Vietnam War situation. Yet another reason we oppose the war. A subsequent observation from Jamie Lytle King really got me to thinking, and it had the biggest impact on the way I viewed my years here, or our years here at CC over the last 2 years that I wrote the newsletter. She noticed that in one issue I mentioned the names of about 16 men and only 3 women. I wrote her back with what I thought was a logical and thorough explanation as to why the disparity. Among them, we had 20 men's intercollegiate sport teams and intramural teams, and we had fewer than 5 women's intramural teams and only 2 clubs. And then I'm pointing out that women had hours and men didn't, therefore more opportunities to do things, good or bad, to get your name into the newspaper. Women couldn't live in their sorority clubs, men could live in the fraternities. Again, more opportunities for the Warren Malkersons of the world to get their name in the paper. Male students dominated student government, in part because we had that freedom and because our class was nearly 2/3 male. Jamie politely agreed with me, but I could tell that she thought there was more to what I was doing in my, quote, reporting from our Tiger newspapers. And she was right. I started to read the Tiger more carefully, and I began looking for ways to change the way I reported what happened 50 years ago. I gained a greater appreciation for the contributions, achievement of the women in our class who were living in the era of Don Draper and Mad Men. I'll list just 3 examples of their overlooked accomplishments, at least overlooked in terms of what I said in the newsletters. First, the tour choir, which was the crown jewel of the Colorado College campus, and the touring choir that toured the United States was majority female, if not overwhelmingly female, on a campus that was then predominantly male. Second, at our senior honors and awards convocation, more than half of the students recognized were female classmates, even though our graduating class was still nearly 60% male. Third, and most impressive, 15 of the 24 classmates inducted into Phi Beta Kappa were women, including Jamie Lytle King. Fashion during our years here at CC was nothing to write home about. However, Bob Sears, Chuck Buxton, and Don Salisbury knew how to dress for a protest. No demonstration, protest march, or campus-wide event was complete unless they were at the front of the gathering, each of them wearing a herringbone sport coat, collared dress shirt, pullover sweater, corduroy socks, and penny loafers. I don't know about you, but to this day, I cannot pass an Abercrombie & Fitch back-to-school window display without feeling the urge to pick up a "Make Love, Not War" sign and go out and picket. The only award that was never in doubt was the "Oh, the Countries and Places I Have Visited," which obviously goes to the one and only Dave Burnett. Not only has Dave been everywhere, met everyone, photographed everything, written and published books on the art of photography, and won every photojournalism award in the world, he's also an extraordinarily dedicated CC alum. Dave has and continues to give back to the college in many ways. He's been a commencement speaker, guest lecturer, generous donor of his photos and time. And although it's not on this morning's program or in the official program, and this is going to come as a surprise to the alumni department, next Monday morning, Dave will be presenting a black and white slideshow of his family's 2017 vacation to Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York. That'll be Monday at Rastall, so if you can stay, be sure to see that. Well, so much for remembering. The more important next step was to reflect. Perhaps the most important question that the newsletter, emails, reunion committee planning sessions, and conference calls raised is, why do we care enough about CC and our college experience to actually want to be here today? Said differently, what is it about Colorado College and our 4 years here that has drawn us back? And why do we feel the way we do about each other and Colorado College? The easy answer would be something like, I'm here to say a long overdue, thank you for the great education I received. And that's true. We did receive great liberal arts educations. Many of our classmates have children who also received great educations at CC. In fact, Ken Cunningham has 3 sons who earned their bachelor's degrees from CC. However, many of us have sons and daughters who did not go to C, but yet we know they also received a great education from their respective state university or private college. In fact, over the years, I've even met well-educated men and women who graduated from DU. Good luck defending that lawsuit. So it must be more than just saying thank you for our education that brings us back to this place 50 years later. What is it about Colorado College, this incredibly beautiful location, the gifted men and women who taught us, and the experiences we all had as classmates that brings us back? I've come up with just 4 reasons out of probably many. First, it's this place, Colorado Springs and the campus, Pikes Peak and the Rockies, all of which presented us with opportunities to be challenged by the great outdoors. Perhaps no one exemplified the spirit and challenges of the beauty that surround us more than Jerry Alberg. And I hope everyone gets to visit the Alberg Center and attend the warm beer bust on Saturday from 3 to 5 at the center. Second is the ability to think critically. Professor Tim Fuller deserves full credit for making me realize the importance of this. At the start of our junior year, he gave me a well-deserved F on a political theory test. There was more red ink than black ink on my blue booklet by the time he was done grading it. The largest and boldest red ink was reserved for a circle around the words that I had written, I feel, in response to a question about Socrates and Plato. Connected to that red circle was a red arrow to a giant red comment. Quote, "I don't care how you feel, Doug. I want to know what you think." A third reason we keep coming back is that we learned about the needs and concerns of those of us who were less fortunate than we, and how we could make an impact on the communities where they would live, eventually where we lived our lives. I've already mentioned Bob Sears, Don Salisbury, and Chuck Buxton, and the roles they played in making us aware of campus and global issues. We also have many other classmates who have carried on with those traditions of compassion and service. Just to name a few, Bill McDonald, Dick Stevenson, Kathy Fries, and Wink Davis have devoted much of their lives to environmental causes. Carolyn Corky Matthews is an extraordinary advocate for Native American rights. Darcy Pete, who has not only donated her art to help support our class gift, is also a strong supporter and nationally recognized supporter of the arts. Fourth, we learned something very special and something that not every college or university is able to provide to their undergraduates. We learned how to communicate. Specifically, we learned how to write and verbally express our thoughts and ideas. Every class had written tests, term papers, and special projects that required us to properly string together nouns, verbs, adjectives, and other parts of speech that we've long since forgotten into cogent arguments that were actually read, corrected, and graded by a professor with a red pen. Plus, with a dozen or so students in every class, there was little chance to avoid being called on during class, especially if you actually showed up for one of those early Saturday morning seminars. I'm sure there are other great reasons as well for each of you to remember fondly and reflect deeply about our experience at CC. But now the question becomes, how can we say thank you to CC? In other words, how can we respond? Here's what I've decided to do, and I hope you'll consider doing the same thing. Because I'm lucky enough to live in Marin County, California, I'm what's known as house rich and cash poor, which means I don't have the ability to write a check to CC with a lot of zeros in it. However, I have included CC in my estate plan with a donation that will help support scholarships. So, in the true tradition of the class of 1968, I urge you to make Colorado College a generous beneficiary of your estate, and then in the real spirit of our class, to keep on keeping on for another 20 or 25 years and make them wait for it. Thank you very much.
Let us pray. O Creator, in this time of recognition and celebration, but also of memory, we are grateful for your presence in our lives and for your guiding light. We celebrate your creations and helping us to emphasize what is the best of human endeavor and community. In recognizing the sisters and brothers of the class of 1968, we are humbled by their accomplishments and their dedication to leadership and caring for one another. They are the class that led us through times of change, times of needed guidance from them, and times of discovery and joy. Today is a day for new chapters and creating new memories, and how this community is bounded by your grace and light to carry us forward to more wonderful days to come. We say this in your name. Amen. Go in peace.